Yeah. I just want to do end this today as a sort of fireside chat because it's kind of gives you insight into sort of many cats and the sort of change that we've had for this year. One of the big changes is we've been able to actually take on full time staff, which obviously evolves from our previous thing of being a CIC non-profit, whatever you want to call it, of volunteering teams. That's how we started Food Impact, was pretty much everybody volunteering and putting in their own time to sort of do this campaign. But now we've kind of been able to become more of a actual elite team, especially given that what we do is accessibility. The reason why we've come together is because people are wanting accessibility services from people who have lived experience, and that means obviously people who are disabled or neurodivergent. It's applying that lived experience into a accessibility role, or as we have like junior accessibility specialists as well as senior accessibility specialists, and that is applying there. That's how Matt and Harriet sort of are here and why they're here. um, Yes, got rid of him. But it's kind of interesting, isn't it, Harriet? Because again, I know you were there predominantly in the early days of sort of figuring this out, figuring out what this team could be, what it should look like. But also that challenge, because whereas I've been pretty much a career sort of in and out of games, doing this, doing that with many cats. It's always been kind of always on the back burner. Well, not back burner, but on the background for me. But yourselves obviously have been freelancers, content creators, accessibility consultants, however you want to class it. But it's that sort of thing. So I guess it's interesting. First thing for everybody is if we do a quick summary of kind of your career to date as you come to Minicat. So I'll let you start, Harriet, and sort of say what your career to here was.
Yeah, so basically, I very late in my 20s and stuff. Eventually went to university. Had to persuade them. Basically, like, why should we accept you? And I'm like, because I really want to. Um, and deferred. Ended up going to university. Got into accessibility through that. Originally had a career teaching Blender online for years, like almost a decade. And got into it through that. And it was while I was at university that I first met Chris through a call for speakers for EGX 2016 or 2018. I can never remember. And that was part of the public speaking side of the accessibility journey. And I've been pretty much freelancing since, so yeah, it'd be 2016. Or no, 2018. I can't tell time. Um, and yeah, I've basically been consulted since, which has led me to this point. I mean, I consulted AAA, AA, done disability inclusion talks, mentorship. So I do the accessibility for the limit break mentorship and all sorts of stuff. And then was brought on with Many Cats originally as a volunteer to help with leading on the Impact campaign, which being in the second year, that constitutes a success as soon as it goes past that 12 months. And yeah, it's been great to be in a salaried environment and getting to work with what are essentially our two peers and friends. And in that situation, it's fun.
Yeah, it's where we make Matt do the third year impact. If we've both done the first 2 years, we'll make him do the third year. He's got to.
Yeah.
But Matthew, what about yourself? What's your career path been?
I started off many years ago in hospitality, and then found out my vision was getting worse. So kind of jumped into the accessibility space, just kind of in the same style as Harriet. Went through talks. We've worked with EA companies like that, freelancing. Started off freelancing. Started off then creating content as well, known as, if am I allowed to say it, the wobbly gamer is what some people might know me as.
Please, everybody, bleep that out in your own consciousness.
There you go. Yeah, so I did that for 3 or 4 years as content creating, and I'd considered myself as an advocate rather than a consultant. Then moved into the consultancy space full time about 2 years ago, and then Chris approached me for the job this year. So yeah, no, but like Harriet, I've done many different things, talking, I'm good at that. Public speaking, consulting on AAA titles, indie games. Yeah, the whole spectrum.
Harriet, do you agree that he's good at talking?
I mean, people paid him for it, which technically counts as like, well, he was being paid for it. They clearly thought it was, to a standard that would deserve payment, even if it is in like Amazon vouchers.
Well,
Ouch.
ow. You know he loves those vouchers. Oh, wow.
Sorry.
Oh, don't make me. Oh, I can't show mine.
Bless. We'll make you a figure one, Harriet, so you can flash it on screen.
Thank you.
But yeah, if you didn't know myself, I had been the very traditional route, I guess, what you're forced in if you're non-disabled, which is go to university. That's how you get a job. But even then, I was not good at university. I don't think it maybe was set up for me. It's not of education, so I barely got my degree, barely passed, and the first thing that I did, I actually went into social services. I actually went into them to help them out with their like marketing social media thing, because they were like going, how do we do this new age fangled thing? That's how old me and Harriet are. Social media, never heard of her. And it kind of was interesting because, again, it taught me a lot about in a very difficult environment, a very time crunched environment. You've got to find a place for a kid by the end of the day, otherwise not good. That's why games are always relaxed with games. I'm just like, dude, you're just making a game. This is easy as F. But eventually, I did actually get back into a games career that I started out for at university, and that was through in QA at TT Games. I eventually realised I was going to be a great producer, so that's why I went into production track, ended up freelancing, and that's where Manycat started, and because I wanted to bridge that sort of thing. But yeah, like I had a production career, and eventually led me to straighten up what Manycats could actually be as a business, because that was the very hardest thing about Manycats. I started at a time where I got my first foray into games, and I thought, I'm going to leave this job and go somewhere and do this stupid thing of running a business. And it took me a long time to figure out how to run a business. Like, that's a thing, you don't really get as much support in terms of that. You kind of just have to just do. And that's why we end up with a lot of like studios that fail, because a lot of people don't actually know how to think about it as a business and protect their employees as a business, because you do have to think about the money earning side of it, which is not great. It's not the nicest thing to do, but it is fully part of being a business. And yeah, like it took me a long time to figure out what Manycat is. Like, I was in QA and I was like, I do not see or even talk about any other disabled people in the same team as me. So, I never saw any highlights of people who were disabled in the industry. It was just never talked about. And that's not that long ago. Like, it's still probably in a better space than it was when I first started, but it's still a long way to go. That's why we want to do things like Impact Day to highlight disabled and neurodivergent people in, because it's such an important thing. I didn't have it when I first started, but I hope now that we do things like this, we are causing it to be there for people who are in their early careers. They can feel more normalised, and not even normalised, but more seen, more like fellow people in this industry with me that understand me. But yeah, so I eventually, got this opportunity of like, we did so much with Manycats in terms of the volunteering my time. Again, Harriet has been a part of this in the early days where we did Impact, but also like things like the experts page, doing things like the podcast. We did a lot of things out there just to create free resources for developers to make their games as accessible as possible, but also the visibility of disabled people in the industry as well. It's so important to me to just create things and not create them behind paywalls and behind caveats of how you can access that. Like, that's why make it as free as possible. Like, pretty much everything was free. And yeah, like, because of that, we got noticed by a extremely large publisher, and they were like, we want a thing like Manycats. I want Manycats, like a team of disabled people that can do this, can apply their lived experience in a game development environment that makes games more accessible. Because at the end of the day, that's the heart of the matter that they want. They want the game to be played as many by as many people as possible. So this is why I had to sort of noodle and figure out what a role in accessibility could look like, because at the end of the day, you know, things are not as transparent as possible in this industry, especially in the accessibility sector. Like, people don't actually talk about the nuts and bolts about how to create it, what it looks like, what a job looks like, what the parameters of that job could be. So, you know, again, credit for these two people here with me. Like, they went into something that was just not defined, and that is a beautiful space for neurodivergent people to go into. Like, hey, here's the thing, I can't tell you exactly what it is or what to expect, but you have to do it anyway. So that's my question for you two. Like, you know, how do you feel about coming into something that just couldn't be defined at all?
For me, it was your transparency. Like, from day one, our first initial meeting, you literally were like, I don't really know what this is, in all honesty. Like, I know what kind of is going to be, what we've kind of got to do and what we kind of need to do, but you're going to be winging it with me. And I like that, because straight away you were just open about it. You weren't like trying to hoodwink me or Harriet and pull like the blanket over our eyes and be like, yeah, this is going to be a really established position. And it was never that. It was kind of like, trust me on this one, we'll make it work. And you've been really transparent, which was like, as you said, working with me and Harriet, both of us are on a very different ends of the neurodivergent scale. I don't particularly mind that too much. So I was like, yeah, all right, let's go. And then, yeah, I can't speak for Harriet, but the transparency for me was huge, because it was just straight away, it was very much I'm going to be very open about all of this. We'll probably start to the end and we'll just get through it together. So yeah, that's the big one for me, was the transparency. You never kind of not lied about it. You just straight away from the start went, this is what I've been approached with. I think you'd be good for it. I don't know what that means yet, but do you want to do it? And yeah, it was good. And I like that side of it. Transparency is key for me.
Yeah, I have struggled with it. When Matt says that me and him are opposite ends of the neurodivergent scale, I would say that it's just because we both have the same flavour, but different one drives. So we're both ADHD, but for me, autism drives. So I'm very more like autistic coded with a bit of ADHD in there, where Matt's, you know, very ADHD coded with a bit of the tism thrown in for good measure. So for me, why the transparency was useful for the sort of like the chaos gremlin that lives within me, that loves to just throw everything to the window to be like, we'll be fine. Until we started to get structure and started to know what things were starting to look like, that's when I started to really sort of get more comfortable in it. That's when I started to be like, right, I feel secure, I feel safe, I understand my role, I understand, you know, things like what it means to be a senior in an industry sector that doesn't have many seniors, and the seniors that are there typically aren't disabled. It's quite rare to have disabled people in these kinds of positions, so there was a lot of that, and sort of like, I think I've described it as, I knew what the role would be, and I've sort of embodied that, but it's also sort of evolved around me as well. And I you know, again, can't speak for Matt, but I feel like from my perspective, it's the same for him as well, where it's sort of like, it's a bit of both. We're doing the job description that was there, but also filling it out with the bits that are us and the skills that we each have as well. And it's just, yeah, that journey of the openness and the transparency, it provides the foundation for that to even be a possibility. I think if there wasn't the transparency, even I wouldn't find that level of comfortability with it either.
No, you've described it quite well. It's like really dodgy comedy improv, isn't it? We here's a small script, now run with it, and yeah, it's very much like that. We're filling out the blanks as we go along, I feel like.
Yes, and
Thank God on the team we have a comic relief. I'll let the audience decide who that is. It's Matt, obviously. But again, like, it's that sort of it's interesting that it was we gelled so well together, even though, like you say, you two are on the opposite ends. Like, I'm the typical neurotypical, but even then, like, at times where I get tired of that, I do slip into the spectrum of what diversity is. Because, like Harriet had always said to every like talk and thing that she had, everybody's neurodivergent. Like, everybody's on that scale. Like, it doesn't mean that, there's not two different scales for the population. Like, everybody literally is on that same scale. So therefore, everybody will likely have the moments of feeling like what you truly live with every day. So there should be a lot more empathy for neurodivergence from everybody, like for like people who are neurotypical. But that's why I get frustrated about the whole communication barriers that come up for neurodivergent staff, because I'm just like, no, that person should know how to talk to you or have the empathy to talk to you. But it is such a industry where people don't want to acknowledge these things of themselves, which a lot of our talks today really emphasize that, of like the acceptance to yourself, the identity is a big thing, a part of learning to know how to work in yourself, like with yourself. It's knowing yourself. But yeah, I'm glad that all three of us probably have a moment of that, but we're also probably still learning. We'll continuously learn about ourselves, our disabilities, how they all gel together, how they don't gel together sometimes. But yeah, I can ramble for a thing, but I did actually want to ask you two also, with the whole transitioning into sort of full-time roles, you two different to me, because like I said, I've always had a position working for other companies in production specifically, whereas you two obviously had to fight the good fight of consultancy and sort of battle it out to find these very few freelancing jobs that do exist out there. But now you had to transition from that mindset into a full-time role mindset. How's that been now? How you managed to do that when you actually get a full-time role?
It's interesting because consultancy, there is a very specific way that you do that job. There's a very specific way of communicating, and it's largely you have that benefit because you very much might not ever see that team again, so you can say what you want to say because statistically they'll never be in touch with you afterwards. You'd be lucky if you see your name in the credits. You'd be lucky if anyone remembers you were ever there, realistically. So you get to be a little sort of freer with your opinion, let's say, because your value to the company is your opinion as a disabled person. In some cases, they do value your expertise outside of that, or your understanding of any development stuff that you may have picked up over the years and things like that. But changing from that into a thing where if you're working with massive development teams embedded as an accessibility, professional, you can't talk like that. It is really apparent. There are different fights. There are different sort of hills that you decide which hill you are making a stand on, and sort of working that out and sitting with that and having the skills, the communication skills to be able to do that. And also for me, being like, actually, yeah, some of my neurodivergent communication skills work really well for this. Wanting to sort of having, pattern recognition, be like, well, okay, so this is probably how I should do this, and I can communicate this way, and maybe I don't need to have an opinion on this, and we just get it sorted, and it'll be fine. And yeah, it's an interesting transition from the communication styles.
For me, it's like you can switch. It sounds you can switch off when you're freelancing. You spend all day, every day, when you're not actually physically working, still working. You're scrolling through social media. You're scrolling through Discord looking for opportunities. You never technically, I worked with American companies quite a lot of the time, so you'd be up to 1 o'clock in the morning waiting for a Discord message or something from someone to say, yeah, this is going ahead or it's not going ahead. Or you'd be chasing payments from Americans, but I need to sit up till 2 o'clock in the morning to hope they get back to me because I need to eat this week and kind of things like that. And so the thing for me, and especially with a young family, like I've got a little 8-year-old boy and stuff and a wife, it's so nice to kind of go, I don't actually need to be streaming this Saturday because a game's come out that I need to build traction around, or I don't need to be on my computer at 12 o'clock at night still streaming or whatever. It's nice that I can switch off, go, right, we're going to go to dinner together tonight, and I can put my phone away and not worry about it. Or I can sit with Thomas and go, right, we're going to play a game tonight and I'm not going to stream it. We're not worrying about that side of it. We're just going to play a game, me and you. And that's the big thing for me, has been the ability to kind of be around a bit more and not always be focused on chasing the money. Not chasing the money. That is the right term. I'm going to use that term, because you are chasing the money because you need to eat. So you're not sitting there at, like I said, at 1 o'clock in the morning looking through Twitter or Blue Sky or whatever, trying to find that. So it's given me a lot more time as a dad, a husband, and it's such a weird transition because sometimes you still sit there at night and I'm going, why am I doom scrolling? I don't need to. Throw my phone away and go to sleep kind of thing. But that's been quite a weird one for me, is actually kind of being able to switch off.
I do love that you have been really good at being able to switch off. There could be unnamed other employee that has not been good at that.
Listen,
I didn't say
I'm
I didn't throw her under the bus.
I'm trying. Like, I am notoriously bad at switching off. It's partially the autism and the accessibility and like inclusion stuff is part of one of my major sort of like foundational DNA special interests. So for me, when I work, it's like, okay, yeah, I could clock off, but I'm still technically working after 6. My brain will not allow me to rest if I am not active in something. I'm also getting out of like a difficult housing situation. I'm now into a new house and stuff where some of those challenges are not as immediate, where I'm not in survival mode, where superfluous things like enjoyment and spending time with loved ones I can now do. So we'll get there. I'm trying.
She'll be flying out the door at 6 o'clock, Chris, next week to start painting, and you'll be like, "Where's Harriet? She's stopped working."
You will get 2 double fingers up and a bit later, dudes.
I'm off to paint.
One of the in the early days, because like again, we are probably a few weeks off our 6-month anniversary together, which is crazy that we've done this for like half a year. But even like in the early days, like I think something from Shatter's talk like really spoke out to me, and that was the whole noticing when you are depressed, you do not like playing games that you loved before, that your enjoyment in games is really hard to do. And again, not being named of employees, but there was one person who specifically said something about, "Oh, Chris, this is like first time in a long time I've just played a game for my pure enjoyment, and I fucking loved it." And I was just like, "Yeah, totally." To have that chance to just play games again, like just like I know it's so crazy. Like, and this is the trap of being a accessibility consultant, especially a freelance one. It's very hard to not see everything as your job, to learn and sort of pull it apart for the accessibility stuff, to think about the content you can create with it. And when you remove all that and it's like you can just enjoy games again, it's such a magical moment. So again, you know, it's that sort of thing of like, that's my enjoyment of my team being able to really like, oh, we can just go out and enjoy games again, which none of us have been able to do for such a long time.
It is funny to like have things that previously, the only times that I would actually be playing games previously would be, right, I need to play the latest stuff, I need to be engaged with what is current, I need to be analysing games constantly so that my body of knowledge as a consultant is encyclopedic. I'm autistic. I pride myself on basically being a human version of a walking AI with an infinite breadth of knowledge about my special interests, right? So going from that to actually be like, actually, I don't need to be harping on about the accessibility of a game I'm playing for fun. Like, even that, like the freedom, the sort of almost the release, the physical ability for my body to now be able to get up from a seated position. Previously, I wouldn't have needed a chair to sit down. You could have just folded my body into the correct configuration. The tension in my body would have held me there, like one of those cool tension chairs. But now it's like, it is very different to have a sense of work-life balance, and I'm still learning. Like, I'm really bad about taking holiday. I'm really bad about identifying that, no, Harriet, you don't need to juggle 20 things at once. You can be like, hey, I need to do this, or I need to go and lie down, or, you know.
It's like, why are we doing this, Harriet? We could just make the junior do it.
It's all right. You could book a nice day off. You could book a nice day off to spend with your wife, and then she takes you mattress shopping. You know, that's.
Hey, what you do for romance is none of our business.
Even now, Mark's not allowed to use that mattress.
No. I sleep on the floor.
Killed up with a dog. Bless him.
No, like the work-life balance, that balance, and a lot of it is like. It's interesting that the stuff is literally there on the table in terms of what is available for flexibility, what is available in terms of like holiday, like, oh, do you just need to like go off and do this, or do you need to do that? Like, but getting through that psychological barrier of like, I'm not permitted, because like during the early pandemic, I was working in retail and customer service. You, much like Matt's experience in hospitality and stuff, taking time off is considered a moral failing.
It's a sign of weakness in hospitality, yeah.
Right, exactly. And it's you're ruining somebody else's work if you take time off, even though you are legally entitled to it. And so transitioning from that attitude to a one like, oh, I'm entitled to this holiday. I can take time off. I should take time off. I should also identify like, hey, you know.
It's funny, like, you know, I think both of you are very strong advocates for disabled people and neurodivergent people. But it's funny when it's actually, this is the first situation where you actually have to apply it to yourself. And actually, even though that you're working for someone who's also disabled for pretty much a disabled company, you both quickly forget you're allowed these reasonable adjustments. You're allowed to go off on holiday. You can go, oh, Chris, I want to go pick up my son. Is it all right if I clock off for an hour or two just to go chase the Tasmanian devil? But that's the thing. It's funny how, again, how hard it is to actually apply what we tell other people to ourselves and going, take time off. You need to recognise yourself, and that's why I really love the Safe in Our World talk, because that's our thing, remembering about the whole self-advocacy and the resilience, and actually going, oh no, we are still kind of advocating, but we need to remember what that means for ourselves, because we will be burning ourselves out without realising it, sort of thing.
Yeah, like Go on.
Oh, I'm just going to take this opportunity to sing Chris's praises, because he never does it, and he has been from day one. He's practicing how he practices what he preaches, and he does. I was a manager and tried to do it, but in the hospitality you couldn't do it. But Chris is very much like, you do go off, you take your holiday, you don't need to give me an excuse. If you say to me you need 2 hours off in the day, you can have the 2 hours off in the day. He practices what he preaches, and makes it so much easier, because you know you can go to Chris and go, Chris, mate, I've got a doctor's appointment, or Chris, Thomas has got a school show that I don't actually want to go and see, but if I don't go and see, the wife will kill me, and he'll guilt trip me into buying him something, so I'm going to have to go and watch him sing for 2 hours. So, and he never once goes, no, you can't. He never has once gone. If anything, he's like, yeah, go and enjoy it. I'm like, Chris, say I can't have that afternoon off because I don't want to go watch him sing.
I've just
he's like,
wife.
No, go.
Confirm with your wife that you're going.
Yeah.
It's true though, because like, I need to sing your praises too. The other week when it was, you know, with the heat wave and stuff, and Chris like, you know, you can take a split day, right? You can go and lie down because I'm really badly affected by the heat, like my cognition fails and stuff, like, you know. And he was just like, yeah, just do a split day, just do the work when it's colder later. And I'm like, wait, what? Sorry, what?
It's funny how I do learn from you two good practices as well. Like that, like, you know, Matt was the one who actually said the obvious thing when it was like massive heat wave. We're all dying in like the middays, like sun, but Matt was like, doing the opposite thing. Like, right, I've got up early, done this what I need to do thing. I'm gonna be in a siesta for the next few hours, and I'll come back when it's cooler. I was like, well, that's so obvious. We don't have to work a typical, you know, office 9-5. We can decide what we're going to do. As long as the work gets done, we can decide what that looks like. And I forgot that, and I'm thankful for, you know, Matt and Harriet keep throwing out, like, you know, the obvious lessons learned sort of thing of like, it's all just the obvious things. Like, I'm just going to do it this way. It's like, that makes sense, so we're all going to do it that way.
I was born to be Spanish.
That's the hallmark of the leadership stuff, and having a good leader in a team is that leader that can take on that sort of thing and be like, actually, no, yeah, that is a good idea. We will roll that out. You know, it was early on. I think it was. Was it Jade? Oh, if we do one rule for you, we have to do it for everyone. You taken that and actually done it, but the way it's supposed to be. Right, and it's like, yeah, that will work for all of us. We should implement that for everyone, because that's inclusive rather than just like a reasonable adjustment. That means that's an inclusive practice, and the fact that you do that is, I think, what provides that sort of like foundation for a strong team and a lot of psychological safety and a lot of trust in each other as well. Like, you can't buy that. You can't train that in people. It has to come from leadership.
Yeah, I'm glad you kind of brought up like the whole aspect of like psychological safety, because again, it's something with myself as well, and what this industry does to especially disabled or neurodivergent people, burn you out, lay you off, mistreat you, and I think we all came together with some form of baggage, and that was the most interesting part of this team is truly understanding each other. That is a safe space just to have the difficult moments and have that like moments of where it doesn't feel all right or you don't feel okay, and to be able to explain that to the others and go, I'm sorry, I'm really angry, but it's with myself. I'm not. It's not about you. I'm not frustrated at you. I'm frustrated with myself because I'm feeling frustrated, and everybody else going, all right, it's fine, sort of thing. But it's that sort of thing. Like, I love the fact that we do have that psychological safety, and I maybe didn't realize that in the early days where we were like coming together, of how important that is for a workplace, especially for disabled and neurodivergent people.
Remember that. So I came with baggage from my first job out of university. Let's say there was mismatched expectations on both of our parts when it comes to me and the employer. There was a situation there where I was asked to delete a lot of information, a lot of stuff off the Confluence, and submit things in a certain way, and as a result, I was fired. There were some other things that I'd done, some mistakes I'd made in terms of not understanding some of the sort of levels of like, just because you're unwell, you need to be careful in your probation because the games industry will eat you up and spit you out, that kind of thing. But basically that whole thing with During and Confluence caused me quite a lot of trauma. I never wanted to touch it. I was terrified. And you know, with the work we're doing, we have to use, you know, Confluence and Jira. And Chris sat with me. Like, he did one to show me how it's done, and he sat with me while I did one. Perfect. It provided me with that thing of like, oh, I'm safe to do that. I'm safe to make a mistake. If I make a mistake, it's not the end of the world because I have someone who's actually going to be in my corner to sort of be like, yeah, no, it's fine. She's new. She didn't know what she was doing. It's fine. Like, that kind of thing, the sort of guidance and the sort of rails, and like even me with the word senior in my title, there's still a lot of stuff that I am learning from the development side, and having someone, you know, your line manager who's like, yeah, don't worry about it. Do you need me to say it with you? Do you need to just talk it out? Do you need to just talk it over? Like, it is. He jokes about me getting sniped or picked up. Why would I go anywhere else? Because I'm not going to get that anywhere else.
But Matthew's just chill. He'll sell out immediately.
Hi guys, yeah, email in the link. No, I'm joking.
But yeah, Matt, like you've come into like something that like unknown. Like, how do you feel to actually, you know, again, I know you're pretty much a happy-go-lucky lad, sort of thing, like yeah, whatever sort of thing. But realistically, you know, how is that mentally for you to come into a team like this and just be able to just be yourself, whether that is hilariously doing like, you know, whatever you need to do to see the screen, or you know, just walking off camera and leaving the chair spinning like a streamer.
It's great because yeah, I can be me, and being me is a bit. Some people have to take with a pinch of salt, as people in the chat may know, because I can be a bit of a gobby one sometimes, or say something and then go, probably shouldn't have said that because that was a really badly made joke or something like that. And I don't do it on purpose, never have done, never any malicious. But for me, it's like I've always felt like I could be me in the gaming space anyway, because that's kind of the approach I've come into it with. But even so, more at many cats, like I can do stupid things, like walk off, forget to turn my camera off, shout at the dog, or have my child run around the room behind me while in a client-facing meeting, and then have to apologise at the end. And yeah, it's I can be me, and as everyone knows, I'm a bit like an excited puppy sometimes, and I like the sound of my own voice. And yeah, Chris and Harriet have never once told me to, like, excuse my French, they've never once gone, can you shut the fuck up and just not be excited for a day? Or can you not be so positive or not try and be so stupid? Which is nice, because like I always want to try and there's always that fear at the background that like people are like, do I just annoy people? Which probably I do in certain occasions. But I know for a fact that if I was being rather annoying for a day, Harry or Chris would go, Matt, please just calm down. And they would, no, there's no maliciousness behind it. It's just like, come on now, you are being the overexcited younger brother here. Calm down. We need to be we're busy. Just leave us alone for an hour. Go and eat your crayons in the corner if you need to, or. And it's nice because I do feel like I could be me.
It's the power of having two seniors on the team. Like, when one of them gets frustrated with him, they can just toss him off to the other one. Just like, hey, Harriet needs help, Matt.
Yeah.
Tell me you just take him to the little chef on the motorway, you'll be fine.
And then you just end up like taking him down to the park to burn off his energy.
Patience of saints, I think, comes to mind because I am not easy to deal with 24/7. I know it's not 24/7, but sometimes I can be a bit like, guys, what are we doing next? Guys, hi guys, hi. And yeah, it takes patience, and especially when I do stupid things like send the email before I've finished typing it out, or
my God, that wasn't to a client.
Yeah, never once has anyone gone, you're an idiot, or you're like you just no. You're allowed to make mistakes, and that's something that I preach massively when I worked in hospitality. But I get so angry at myself when I make mistakes because it's that cliche of you have to prove yourself sometimes in a space that's not disabled friendly and whatever.
Yeah, well, that's a fact of all three of us, really. It's maybe it's disabled neurodivergent people as a whole, the fear to make a mistake, because that sort of thing of like, it'll come back at me, they'll expose me as being like that disabled person doesn't know what they're doing, look at the problems that they've caused. And I think it is an innate fear that we've all got, of been like sort of pushed out for a mistake which a normal person would just like roll off and wouldn't even remember about it an hour ago, hour later even. And yeah, it's interesting to have that dynamic. I do want to sort of move on to talking about accessibility and the actual professional side that we actually do, which is obviously working together to make games more accessible. And all three of us were pretty much singular people in terms of our viewpoint into developer knowledge. Like Harriet said, like, you go in, you do a day, you disappear forever, and they'll never talk to you again. Most likely. Sometimes they might follow up, most times they won't. But this time now, you've got to work in a team with two other professional accessibility people that know their stuff, and piece it together in a way that's conducive and help, in a good way, that a developer can take all this wide range of knowledge and go, I understand accessibility now. Great, I'm going to make the most accessible game ever. Like, good champ, well done. But yeah, like, how does that feel to be different from singular to a team, to apply your knowledge and also trust the other two that they've got knowledge that you may not have?
It's definitely like a transition thing. Like, I do sometimes get what I refer to as the autism arrogance that comes in. I know what I know, and I can be a little sort of like, well, I know this. Why don't you know this? You don't know it better than I do. But working in a team does sort of like, it disabuses you of that notion. It is fantastic to learn from others. I've learned so much from Matt and Chris in this short time and stuff. Like, I think we learn stuff from each other all the time. Like, it's learning to transition from a very limited communication sort of role where the majority of communication is with whoever your client is, and then nothing at all, to something where you have to have, because we are remote first company, consistent communication throughout the day. It's something I fall off that all the time. I'm really bad for forgetting to be like, oh, I should basically make sure they know that I'm not around, because otherwise I will get the puppy going, what are we doing next? What are we doing next? And I'm like, I was on the toilet.
It's not about Chris then, me. It's not about Chris, yeah.
But it's so important to have that communication and learning about it. It's fantastic to learn our strengths in this setting in a way that I don't think we'd ever had that opportunity to do either, because of the nature of consulting.
Yeah, you don't.
We now have that.
Consultants, like the biggest risk factor for a consultant, the most hardest thing a consultant has to do is you never get feedback. You never professionally, you're never able to truly professionally develop because you never get that constant feedback to go, oh, I can change like this, or oh, how my communication style is not the best, or I should go out and learn more about cognitive accessibility. Like, it's, you don't know because no one's really giving you enough time to grow in your own role. So that's why I'm so thankful to have this sort of opportunity to, like, I do feel like I've grown so much in this space of time that we've been together, and improve my accessibility knowledge and being able to, like, understand it a lot more because I have you two to be able to bounce off from and learn from you. And it's that sort of thing. Like, I think, feedback is such a strong thing for this team as well. We can talk to each other about what each other thinks. Like, how do you think of the thought? The way I said this, the way this piece of information has been delivered. What do you think?
How do we know it's photosensitivity problems? Because Harriet's having a seizure in the corner.
Yeah.
No, but no, it's that is a joke, but kind of we fill the gaps, which I like. Like, I've just made the joke of, if we know Harriet's going to struggle with something due to photosensitivity, one of us could go like, right, Chris, you pick up that piece, and it's really good to not have to force yourself, because something we do as consultants is you force yourself to play something that you probably shouldn't be playing because you feel like you have to play it. Because, like Harriet said earlier on, it's the new big thing. It's what everyone's talking about. It's got great accessibility in certain areas, but falls short in others. So you force yourself to play it to learn. Whereas actually now, if we're like testing something or whatever, we've got the ability to lean on someone else and be like, look, I'm really struggling with this because I can't see it, or because it's got lots of flashing images in. So you can kind of go, right, do you mind taking over on this, and I'll work on something else. And having that ability is amazing. And also, like Chris has said as well, is filling the knowledge gaps is just brilliant, because all three of us come with different expertise and different knowledge and lived experience. So for me, cognitive, and I think Chris has also said this, is something that neither me and Chris have got massive knowledge on. So having Harriet, like the AI bot in the corner she is, it's great because you can kind of go to her, Harriet, this cognitive, what are you on about? Because she'll be like, it's not cognitively great, and you'll be like, oh, okay, and then you can ask questions about that, because like cognitive accessibility, in my opinion, is one of the hardest because it's such a broad spectrum, and Harriet is such a knowledge base on that. It's great, and it kind of we all fill the gaps in the team.
Yeah, it's like that with when I'm like, yeah, no, Matt's not gonna like this. It's got no scalability on the text size. He's gonna cry, and it's sort of like, yeah, no, the audio's crap. Chris isn't gonna enjoy this, and it's sort of like we learn about each other's individual sort of like friction points, and are able to be like, oh, just as a warning, I've noticed this. And it's not like we're telling each other where our barriers are, but it's that mindfulness of each other and being like, hey, here's some informed consent for you. So if you're want to go in to do it, at least you know that it's going to be an issue for you. You're going to have that barrier. And it makes us better at what we do because we're sort of supporting each other along the way.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, it does feel like that. And yeah, I hope that this is kind of like the sort of the future of the accessibility space. It evolves into these sort of teams sort of springing up all over the place, because it is, inherently what like PlayStation have, what Ubisoft have. Like, it's such a, it needs more opportunities for people to have, like, stability and roles that they can develop in, and that's kind of how I see the accessibility future. Like, it'll be more informed roles with these sort of teams. What that means for a consultant, I don't know. Hopefully they get scooped up and get opportunities like this. But yeah, like, it's an interesting way to see the future. But yeah, I guess, like, just sort of a final question in a sort, like, it's that sort of thing. Like, I've given my expression of the future. Like, but what about you, Matt and Harriet? What do you see the future, even not just this team or the accessibility space as a whole, that you would hope for?
I can't. Well, I've said this. I think I've posted about it. I can't believe I'm only the second junior in the accessibility space or the second person to ever have a junior role in accessibility. It's mad. People can't, like, I didn't know on day one. I didn't know what Jira was. I didn't know what Confluence was. But I can't get a role in the industry without knowing what that is. So junior roles are so important because you need to give people the skills. Like, there are so many people out there that have got the accessibility skill set, but haven't got that second level of skill set like me, which is I don't have industry skill sets. I've got certain, like the soft skills, I've got the accessibility. What's missing is the ability to put a Jira ticket in, to understand what Confluence is. And without Chris kind of almost taking a chance and going, right, here's a junior role. I know there's only been one before, but we think you could do it. Go. And taking a risk. I think it's massively important. I want to see that from other studios, and maybe from in many cats there will be junior positions coming ahead at some point and things like that. It's junior roles are so important, which is why they're actually in the industry. But now we need to kind of go, right, they're in the industry for a reason, and accessibility is now becoming a part of the industry. Now we need to put junior roles into accessibility, or accessibility into junior roles, to give people the understanding of how the industry works. Because people have got the accessibility knowledge. It's about giving them the opportunity to gain the industry knowledge and experience. So for me, that's what I would like to see in the accessibility space. More people like me.
I like that, Matt. It's funny that you have the viewpoint that junior roles are risky, because honestly, I never saw your role as risky. It's just you are a valid professional level person. Like I knew that you would be able to support me and Harriet, like in what we're doing, and just take ownership of what you needed to take ownership of. Like it's funny that this sort of thing of this a net view of like juniors, like, oh god, you're gonna waste so much time having to train them up. But it's just like, well, no, they come with a whole bag of things that you don't have or understand. Like me and Harriet have learned from Matt, even though he's just the junior. Like it's that sort of thing. Like I would love the industry to understand that a little bit more. Stop being so scared of junior roles. It's just like, no, this is the starting block to a career for somebody. Yes, they won't know everything. That's why they're a junior, but they also have a lot of innate skills and things that haven't been blossomed yet. Like just like it's there, like you can sense it. That's, it's that sort of thing. You can see where their future will lie. But again, craziness of how I've got like the second junior ever, and it's like that's bizarre. Harriet, your thoughts on future?
Like to I would like to see accessibility become something more than just a certificate. I'd like to see it become an industry. So for context, when I first started looking into accessibility, there was only one name, and we all know him, Ian Hamilton. That was the only name that anyone ever knew, right? And we're talking like 7, 8-ish years ago, right? There was nothing. There was nothing about it, right? So even in that scale, even taking into account Ian's illustrious career, the accessibility sector is still so new. I want to see it get the same sort of like prestige and value, particularly with lived experience and the way that that can be leveraged, and appropriate training, getting the soft skills, getting the technical skills, because it is hard. You have your lived experience and you can apply that to accessibility skills, but okay, how do I talk to a developer without them getting mad at me? How do I explain to them how to fix this issue with technical terms so they understand it? How do I articulate an issue that is not a yes no answer to a QA team? All of these challenges and things like that. So having it get its sort of thing, like maybe one day a university degree in it that is designed fundamentally around attracting disabled students, and designed in an inclusive way, like, at the end of the day, world domination.
We don't mention this world domination. They don't know about that yet. Oh god. Again, thank you both for like sort of doing this. Like I just wanted to like sort of express kind of like to people like it's not unusual. It's very normal, and I would love for people to have an opportunity like this. Again, that's why I'm so happy for people like Jade who are creating inclusive studios, like more and more disabled and neurodivergent leaders, because I know they will look after anybody who is in their team. That's what we need, and yeah, it's that sort of thing. Like, who knows what's next for many cats? Like, hopefully, I get to have many cats, and many cats. But I would just hopefully there'll be future roles. What that looks like, I don't know. I'll be very transparent. Like, I don't know what the future is, but I'm excited by it. the future is exciting, and hopefully there will be more opportunities for people to join a team like this, and to keep an eye out. Apologise for anybody who gets to join the team and your line manager is Harriet. That wasn't on me. She Bagsy the next person.
Excuse you. I get good feedback from the junior after he's finished crying.
Only been once, all right.
But yes, remember we are all going to meet outside in the car park to beat the shit out of Matt for his Yorkshire pudding reviews. So please join us in that.
A communal activity.
I cannot believe it's become a thing.
Well, it was a mistake. You made a mistake, and you will rue this mistake. Just this one. You get to make all the other kinds of mistakes that you want in the workplace, but the one thing you should not have done is mention in a pub, in a room, where the premier audience you had was Northerners and a Southerner who liked Yorkshire puddings.
Like Yorkshire puddings.
No, you don't. You said they were overrated, and that means you don't like them. That is a crime. And then you said about the custard and the jam. I can't even look at you the same. I have lost respect for you, professionally and personally.
Harriet, do you want to finish? Should we finish by saying thank you to Chris and making him hate it?
Yeah. Do you know what? Let us have ours. Let's talk about what a great person like Chris is, how he doesn't talk about his successes, how it has been such a fundamental part of our careers, how he is a born mentor to so many. And I think that's the thing, he will always step back and let other people shine while not realising that he also should have an opportunity to shine too. Because we wouldn't be here without him. We wouldn't be in these jobs without him seeing what we had. And the reason we came is because we saw what he had. Money. No. Sorry, I couldn't keep it too sentimental.
That'll do. That was nice and fits in with the company like remit. It worked perfectly.
Yeah, honestly, thank you both of you for saying that. I know I'm bad at acknowledging, but again, I always see it as a community thing, as a group thing. We are here together. We will survive together. It's got to be in it together. Like you say, for disabled and neurodivergents, we'll look after each other and have each other's back. But yeah, thank you for everything, and thank you everybody who attended to our first ever Impact Day. Amid any sort of technical faults and stuff like that, I appreciate that you all took part, been very vocal in the channels and stuff like that. I really appreciate that. Again, to repeat, obviously all the talks will be available, and hopefully this one as well, to you for future views. So you just want to watch back, or even sort of spread to your own communities if you want it for them to experience Impact Day. But yeah, honestly, thank you again. Loving you all being a part of this community, and hopefully we'll have future things together as well. That's Harriet doing a butt with her hands.
Thank you.
A great way to end it.
It's a heart. Listen, don't be rude about my hands are riddled with arthritis. You're lucky they can contort into a sort of heart shaped, okay?